Hello and welcome to the first episode of The Roll Up. This is Adam speaking, and I got quite a doozy of a show for you guys this week. So, big news is Vince McMahon retiring, and all of that stuff that's come out about him and all that. Well, that scandal is kind of the axe for a couple of people, mainly Kevin Dunn and John Yates, or John Laurinaitis. The reason being, with Triple H being in control of creative and all that, it is going to be, well, ran kind of like how NXT was back when it really started getting popular. And that's just one topic today. And I'm going to delve deeper into this, but to give you a full rundown, because I forgot to do that, like an idiot. Vince retiring scandal, all of that covers Kevin Dunn, John Yates, and their futures. Brock and Goldberg having, I won't say plans, but being used in contingencies, if that makes sense. Then Max Dupree, or LA Knight, or Eli Drake, or Sean Ricker, whichever one you want to use. And all of that, everything that's been coming out from that, with rumors stating that he's done with the model gimmick, so I'm not sure, but I'll talk about that later. Other noteworthy items, well, the biggest one is Seth Rollins versus Riddle being canceled from SummerSlam, and essentially Rollins having a mystery opponent. At least that's what I heard. He posted a tweet that said, "Oh, I'm not going to be there wrestling at SummerSlam." But I really don't buy that at all. Then we'll have AEW news with Jonathan Gresham reportedly asking for his release, which, if what happened is true, I understand the reason for it. Tully Blanchard, a couple of key problems, mainly with talent relations, without tying to Jonathan Gresham, and returns, which I know one was confirmed for tonight with Bryan Danielson, so I've got the other two I'll be talking about. And that's pretty much all. Because there's nothing noteworthy coming out at this moment. Then just to kind of finish everything off, the rumored location for Impact's Bound for Glory, NWA 74 curing insomnia, Ric Flair's last match card, and essentially just Joey Ryan's stupidity. So, with all of that, and the slight tease of the Vince McMahon thing to the release of Kevin Dunn and John Laurinaitis, let's jump back into that topic. So, John Laurinaitis is now a Triple H guy. I believe there was some heat between the two at some point. I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, that's what I heard. So, take it for what it's worth. So, if there was heat, odds are it didn't die down, and odds are he's gone. And, I mean, I can't really be too upset with that, because he sucks so much. He was just there because of the yes. And John Laurinaitis, no matter how much I may hate him, was a yes man. Kevin Dunn, he's recently made the round. Oh, people wouldn't think like he's gorgeous and all that. Well, he's gone. So now you can watch WWE without feeling like you're on a roller coaster by the end of the first segment. You know, with all the squatting cameramen because Kevin Dunn thought that was a good idea. I mean, I'm not saying he's a dumbass, but I want whatever he was smoking that day just make my stupid ideas sound better. Then, with all that, it leads into the Brock and Goldberg situation that I touched on, and that was essentially Brock reportedly walking out of SmackDown. It may have been that case, but I don't know. But if he did, he did. Didn't, he didn't. I'm not too concerned, yada yada yada. All that good shit. But anyways, Brock Lesnar reportedly walked out of SmackDown, which perhaps he did, perhaps he didn't. I know he came back at the end, so he could have left, but he could have also been persuaded to return, or he could have stayed there. But had he left, and the reported words were, if Vince is gone, he was gone, the reported replacement for Roman, for the Undisputed Universal Championship match would have been the fresh matchup of Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. So yeah, we had Brock Lesnar, and we've seen, 6, 7 Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns matches. Like, they can be entertaining, but you see the formula they're going to use, which in this instance isn't too bad because Brock really gives a fuck. He sells better than Dolph Ziggler on when he cares. And I mean that in the best way possible because Ziggler's a fantastic seller, and again, Lesnar cares. He can do the same thing. So we can have that entertainment, or we could have gone the spear versus the spear, where maybe 5 minutes, whereas with Reigns and Lesnar, can say 10 to 15 at the very least. Like, you're not getting a whole lot longer matches with between Lesnar and Goldberg, but you're going to have enough. You're going to get more substance from Brock Lesnar because he'll sell. Goldberg, he's at that point where he doesn't give two shits. Then, continuing on to people who don't give two shits, Max Dupree. He had reservations about the model gimmick that Mason Mansoor are part of. And he thought it was dog shit. So reports are he is out of it now. And they're using somebody from NXT as Maxine Dupree. So I'm not going to say anything because I really don't know a whole lot of what's going on. But if that's true, I would have to assume that plans are either him going back to NXT or him getting repackaged. And at this point, I kind of think if they repackage him, they're going to have to really blow the fans away to make them care. Then, of course, noteworthy item, Riddle versus Seth Rollins is off. So, I don't know what the plans are for SummerSlam. I don't expect to be Cody. It could be AJ Styles, which, that's the case, cool. Rollins versus Styles, I can live with for the rest of my life. But other than that, like, unless they're calling somebody up from NXT, it's going to be hard to really capture any good momentum for that match. But let's go to the AEW stuff, because, well, the biggest news is Jonathan Gresham requesting his AEW slash ROH release and apparently cussing out Tony Khan. This ties in with talent relations and a troubling occurrence, because it seems like every time they don't want to use somebody, the talent relations department just does not contact that person. Which, okay, cool. Then you get a situation like this. Like, Jonathan Gresham was waving the Ring of Honor flag everywhere he went. Like, I put it in a different server, kind of like this. He's to modern ROH what AJ Styles was to old TNA. Like, was he the best? You could say yes, you could say no. You can argue about it till you're blue in the face. But the fact of the matter is, he was, without a doubt, the only one that if you brought up, they would say, oh, he's from Ring of Honor, right? He's the only one. And again, Ring of Honor has a lot of great talents. So this is troubling because Marco Stunt said that the department pretty much ghosted him. I believe there's been a few others who said something similar. And this kind of ties into Big Swole's comments earlier this year, I believe, about how there wasn't enough diversity, and Jordan kind of reacted on social media like, oh, there's totally diversity. Look, we have people of color on our flagship shows. Sunny Kiss. I mean, that's a perfect example. Like, whenever they want to use Sunny Kiss, it's always when it's Pride Month. And that's about the only time you see Sunny Kiss on TV. Like, it's sad because Sunny Kiss is pretty good. But at the same time, I feel like Tony Khan's kind of putting himself in a corner where anything that negatively reflects on AEW, he is going to lash out at. Which, I can understand, it's his company, his baby, essentially. But at the same time, it's hard to even justify it when it's happening so frequently. I mean, he even made a comment after Vince's retirement about how he's the longest tenured CEO in wrestling. Then the following day backtracked and said the big three. And I have plenty of problems with that statement. But the biggest problem coming from, what's the big three? If you say New Japan, you have to include Stardom because they're under the same company. If you don't, guess what? You're nitpicking. You are literally saying, oh, I'm only talking about established companies. Okay, established companies. The NWA is an established company. Their CEO is Billy Corgan. He's been the CEO since 2017. All Elite Wrestling has existed since 2019. Okay. Same with Impact. Purchased by Anthem. Their CEO is Leonard Asper, I believe, or Ed Nordholm, one of the two, since 2017. And this is kind of where Tony's putting himself in a bad position. Like I said, because every time he says something like that, guess what? People are going to, well, the diehards are going to support it. But the bare minimum of research says it's wrong. Because if he wants to say the big three, WWE, All Elite Wrestling, and New Japan, Okay, Stardom, under New Japan's parent banner, essentially. I mean, hell, they even had a couple of shows together, and I know there are plans to have Stardom on the New Japan of USA shows. So you really can't really say that it's just New Japan at this point, because Stardom's part of it. And their CEO, he's been there since 2011. So yeah, Tony Khan just needs to get off social media and let somebody else handle it. Because he's a great person to lead a company. But every time he says something on social media, it's always hurting the company. And it may not seem that way at first, but it is. You stop and look at it, it's like, oh, Tony Khan said, I don't know, Jonathan Gresham wasn't good or something. Like, he didn't, but let's just say he said something along those lines. Like, he didn't think Gresham was good enough, or he thought Claudio was better, something like that. Simple, but it can be taken as, oh, just Tony Khan liked Claudio more than Jonathan Gresham. And that's just how the internet works, so it's where he gets off before he says something that could pretty much harm the deal with Turner and Discovery. And speaking of Turner and Discovery, Tully Blanchard Enterprises, they were supposed to be on Ring of Honor. Well, there's been a slight change because, well, Tully Blanchard sold the company. So now it's Prince Nana who owns it. And yeah, it is just their first real show under the AEW banner. And Ring of Honor pretty much just hurt their stand with Jonathan Gresham. And again, the Tully Blanchard stuff. So it's kind of like, it's not officially developmental, but you kind of feel like Tully's going to be given control over it and turn it into that. Which, if it happens, it happens. I'm not too concerned. But, yeah, it just led to so much shit over this past weekend that I feel bad for Gresham and Khan, because again, I like Khan. He could very well be one of the best. But his actions, and the fact that he had Jonathan Gresham cuss him out, apparently, does not speak very fondly. Now, to the key returns. Bryan Danielson returns tonight against Daniel Garcia in a match that will be fucking phenomenal. But All Out's coming up. It's in Chicago. It might be where CM Punk and Kenny Omega returns. But I'm honestly all for, but I am hesitant with Kenny Omega because of his recent injuries. If he has a setback, and he may have a setback in a match, let's not even pretend like that's not possible, he is going to retire. Like, I have a bad feeling that's going to happen, and we're going to lose one of the all-time greats. Well, I say the same thing about CM Punk, yes. Because Punk's 42, almost 43 or something like that. I am terrified he's going to get injured and be unable to wrestle again. Like, I want to see Kenny Omega versus CM Punk so damn bad. But that's for a different episode. And yeah, to kind of round the show up, Impact Bound for Glory location is supposed to be, well, in Connecticut. Don't ask me where, because I have no fucking clue where it's supposed to be. Like, hold up. I am going to go to my good old-fashioned Google device, because, yeah, it has to be stated correctly so I don't screw up. Because, yeah, it is just looking... It's looking like a stupid location because reasons that I cannot even begin to fathom. Like, Impact could definitely use like a 5,000 seat arena and they could be fine with it. Like, they are very good at this point. It's just, it's supposed to take place in Danbury, Connecticut. Okay. And some arenas there will like 700 after setting up everything. So yeah, they're not taking the right risk. Like, use a 5,000 seat arena. Like, go to Vegas for it. Use the Orleans arena. Do something. Because they're on a hot streak right now. Like, some of their recent pay-per-views have been phenomenal. And their shows have been built up very, very well. They're just too scared of taking that next step that they need. Unfortunate, but that's to be expected. NWA 74 news. Well, I say news, but it's just Nick Aldis being removed from the card and replaced by Tyrus. So, yeah, we're going to have about a 5-minute main event match there, if that. And it's not going to be very good at all. Because I like Trevor Murdoch, but he's not going to be able to get anything out of fucking... He's not going to get anything out of Tyrus, because he just... Yeah. It's just hard to pretend to be excited about it. Now, for Ric Flair's last match, here is the card. Ric Flair and Andrade El Idolo versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal with Karen Jarrett. Interesting, but that's beside the point and for a later episode. A 4 corners match. Jonathan Gresham versus Nick Wayne versus Alan Angels versus Konosuke Takeshita, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I do apologize. Then we have the Bunkhouse Battle Royal with participants being announced. I don't have the full list. I'm not concerned about it. You have Kerry and Rick Morton with Robert Gibson versus Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson. Interesting thing about this match, Kerry and Ricky Morton are representing the Rock and Roll Express, Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson representing the Four Horsemen. And both will have a manager in their corner. Robert Gibson for Rock and Roll Express, Arn Anderson for the Four Horsemen. Impact Wrestling's Dream Tag Match, or rematch, as it's stated, the Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, versus, big team, just the Motor City Machine Guns, one of the all-time greats. Then you have Ray Phoenix versus Taurus versus Laredo Kid versus Bandito. Impact World Championship match. And this is one that if it's given half an hour or so, we are going to be treated to something special. Josh Alexander versus Jacob Fatu. I'm looking forward to that match because it should be freaking phenomenal. Impact Knockouts Championship match, I believe. If it's not, then it features the Knockouts champion. Rachel Ellering versus Jordan Grace versus Deanna Pratso. Should be very good. Representing Major League Wrestling, Killer Cross with Scarlett Bordeaux versus Harry Smith. That should be extremely fun. And I feel like this is the real Forbidden Door pay-per-view that we should be getting. Because, representing New Japan USA at the very least, Clark Connors versus Ren Narita. Now, it may be representing New Japan of USA, or maybe just be representing New Japan from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know, so bear with me. As soon as I know more, I'll do another episode. But the last match, Marshall and Ross Von Erich versus the Briscoes. Now, the Briscoes are assigned to Ring of Honor, and they were working in Impact, and the Von Erichs they're a team that I like, but I haven't seen a lot of. So, it could go either way. But overall, the card looks very, very good. I have reservations on Ric Flair's match, and the Von Erichs versus Briscoes match. But as we expected, because I'm always going to worry about tag matches. I don't know, about the teams involved. Like, Von Erichs could be one of the best, and they could blow everybody's expectations out of the water with that match. They could also just be coasting. And the Briscoes, while I do not like them, I will say they are one of the better teams of the past century. Unfortunately, century. God, I'm old. So yeah, that is all for this episode of The Roll-Up, because I don't want to even begin to talk about the fact that Joey Ryan tried scamming people out of money for an open mic night show. So yeah, I'd rather not do that and not want to punch myself in the face because of the pure stupidity. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And yeah, I know there were some times where I didn't speak or anything, and I kind of went off, which I do apologize for, but this is going to be something that I'll be fixing over time, because if possible, I'm going to be able to dedicate more time to this. So, if I can, you may get a lot more episodes. You may get recaps of big pay-per-views, or this may just end up being like one for WrestleMania, any big shows in between that really are noteworthy, All Out, and then probably just me by myself for Ring of Honor, or not Ring of Honor, but Impact's Bound for Glory. But hey, that's the beauty of wrestling. You don't have to like all of it, you can just enjoy it. And with that, I would also like to give a huge thanks to the Redbubble store, the non-pro community, and to Megan, the great editor. And I recommend following us on Twitter at CyberTwitsPod, at TNTwits. Don't know about Ballpark or anything else. If you like this type of content, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. We'd love that stuff. And just remember, you should always avoid the roll-up.